Imagine mining cryptocurrency right on your phone with just one single tap. I mean, that's the simple but super powerful promise of Pi Network, and it's a promise that has pulled in millions of users from all over the world. But here's the big question. Is it the real deal, or is this just another crypto pipe dream? Well, a bunch of major developments are suggesting that Pi is making a serious move, from a social experiment to a genuine real-world financial ecosystem. And in this explainer, we're going to take a deep dive and see what's really going on.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it down. First up, we'll cover the absolutely insane number of people already on board. Then, we're going to geek out a little bit on the new tech that's making this whole thing tick. After that, we'll see how Pi is trying to be more than just a coin, building a real ecosystem. We'll also check out the market moves and see who Pi is up against. And finally, we'll wrap it all up and look at what the road ahead looks like for them. You ready? Let's jump in. So what's all the buzz about with Pi Network, right? Well, it really all starts with the people. And when I say people, I mean a lot of people. Seriously, we have to start with the numbers because this is where the story gets absolutely wild. Okay, check this out. Over 12 million people have already moved their accounts over to the live, functioning Mainnet. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that's like launching a brand new company and having the entire population of New York City as your customers on day one. In the crypto space, where projects usually launch with, a handful of users, starting with a base this huge is, well, it's pretty much unheard of. So you might be wondering, how in the world is Pi managing its coin supply with that many users? It's actually pretty clever. Out of the 7.4 billion Pi coins on the mainnet, a massive 5.2 billion of them are locked up. And that's not an accident. It's a very deliberate strategy. See, it keeps everyone from selling off their coins all at once, which helps keep the value stable. It's a really smart way to reward the people who are in it for the long haul and, build a more solid foundation for the network's future. But look, having a ton of users is only half the battle, right? You've got to have the technology to back it all up, especially if you have these massive global ambitions. So let's pop the hood for a second and see what kind of engine is actually powering the Pi network. Okay, get ready for a pretty big upgrade because something called Protocol 23 is about to completely change the game. And I'm not talking about a minor tweak here. This is a full-on overhaul of the network's engine. It's built on top of advancements from the Stellar blockchain, which is a big deal, and it's designed to unlock some seriously cool new features. So what exactly makes Protocol 23 so great? Well, it really boils down to two key things: security and speed. First off, it brings in a new decentralized way to handle KYC. That know your customer stuff where you have to verify your identity. By building this right into the blockchain, it gives the community more oversight, which really helps keep the network secure. And second, it's just going to make the network way faster and more powerful. We're talking more transactions, better support for complex apps, all the stuff you absolutely need to handle this many users. But wait, there's more. This upgrade also makes Pi compatible with something called ERC-3643. Now, I know that sounds like a bunch of technical jargon, but trust me, it's a really big deal. The easiest way to think about it is like a VIP pass for the crypto world. It's a standard for creating these special permissioned tokens that can only be traded by verified people. This is absolutely crucial for bringing things like stocks and bonds onto the blockchain, and it's a huge step toward finally bridging the gap between crypto and traditional regulated finance. Okay, so what does this actually mean for Pi's future? Honestly, it could be a complete game changer. We're talking about a future where you could use Pi to trade tokenized real-world assets, like owning a piece of a building or shares in a company, all on the blockchain. It also opens the door for Pi to connect and work with other huge blockchains like Ethereum. And maybe most importantly, this could make Pi a really serious player, the kind that attracts big institutional investors who've been looking for a crypto project that plays by the rules. All right, so we've talked about the massive community, we've talked about the impressive tech, but what can you actually do with Pi? I mean, that's the billion-dollar question, right? And that's exactly what we're going to dive into next. This is where something called PiOS comes in, and it's kind of like the secret weapon in Pi's arsenal. Think of PiOS as a big Lego set for developers. It gives them all these pre-built pieces they need, tools for payments, for identity, for data storage, you name it, so they can build incredible apps right on top of the Pi network. And this is a huge deal, because it just makes it so much faster and easier for creators to build new and genuinely useful things for the Pi ecosystem. And Pi isn't just saying they want developers to build, they're putting their money where their mouth is. they've launched something called Pi Network Ventures, which is a fund worth almost $100 million, all dedicated to supporting developers building on the platform. I mean, that is a massive vote of confidence in their own future, and it's designed to spark a whole new wave of apps with real practical uses. Okay, so we've seen what's happening inside the Pi network itself. But what about the outside world? What are the big investors thinking, and who's out there competing with them? Let's zoom out a bit and take a look at the bigger market picture. So, in the crypto world, we have this term whale for an investor with a ton of money. And it turns out Pi has a pretty big one. There's one single wallet out there that has been quietly, methodically buying up Pi. And right now, it holds over 371 million of them. That's a huge sign of confidence from someone who clearly has some serious skin in the game. And it's not just what this whale is buying, it's how they're doing it. They've been steadily accumulating Pi even when the price is all over the place. Now, this kind of behavior suggests they're not just here for a quick buck. They are playing the long game. And that's seen by a lot of people as a really strong signal of serious strategic belief in the project's future. But Pi isn't the only game in town. There are new competitors popping up, like Remitex. They're laser focused on one thing: low-fee international payments. And they've already raised over $25 million to do it. Now, while Pi has this massive head start with its community, this just goes to show that they can't rest. They have to keep innovating and delivering real value if they want to stay on top. So, we've looked at the good, we've looked at some of the challenges, and we've looked at the competition. But what does it all add up to for Pi's future? Is this thing destined for greatness, or is it just going to be another flash in the pan? Let's try to piece it all together in this final section. First, let's talk about how the coins themselves are distributed. A massive 65% of all Pi coins are set aside for the community through those mining rewards. And that's a really big deal, because it's designed to make sure that the people who are actually using the network have a real stake in its success. It also makes it way less likely that the whole network gets controlled by just a handful of wealthy investors. So what's the bottom line here? Well, Pi has a lot going for it. You've got powerful new tech, you've got the largest user base in crypto by a mile, and you've got clear support from at least one major whale. But it also has some very real hurdles to clear. It's got to deal with new, focused competitors, it has to prove that it's actually useful and not just for speculation, and it has to solve the massive technical challenge of scaling to potentially tens of millions of active users.
And that brings us to the final big question. With millions of active users, game-changing tech on the way, and a $100 million war chest fuel development, Pi has built a foundation that looks unlike almost anything else in crypto. But that journey from a massive social experiment to a truly mainstream financial platform, well, it's still happening, and the risks are definitely real. All the pieces are on the board. But now it all comes down to execution.